It's cold. There's snow on the ground. People are putting chairs on the street, calling dibs for their parking spots. Everything is indicating that it is wintertime in Chicago. And what does that mean? That means that you will hear a lot of people in real estate talking about how right now is a good time to buy because you can get good deals on real estate. And also, that is a bad time to list your property for sale because if it's a good time to buy, then it must be a bad time to sell, right? Actually, it's a pretty uncharacteristically nice day here in Chicago, the day that I happen to be recording this. But that's besides the point. We're going to talk about debunking or maybe proving whether or not this is true. Is wintertime, basically the months between November, December, January, a little bit of February, is this a good time, a particularly good time to buy? Can you get better deals at this time of year than other times of year? And if so, why? What's really going on there? And is it also true that it's a bad time to list? That's what we're talking about in this video today. So to get into this, we're going to be in a program that I have access to as a real estate agent called InfoSparks. That's what we're in right now. We're just going to be talking about attached single-family homes that were resales, so no new construction, and traditional sales, so no like short sales or anything like that. And we're going to keep everything like all bedroom counts, all bathroom counts, etc. We're just going to get as much data in here as possible, but we're only going to do and we're just going to do for the city of Chicago itself. We'll want a nice big set of data in here to go off of. For the sake of this video, I'm only doing attached single family homes, that's condos and townhouses, but I promise I've went through all different permutations of this. The data that we're going over in general will tell a similar story, whether you're talking about condos or houses or regardless of neighborhood or area of the city or anything like that. It's all, the exact numbers will be different, but the trends are the exact same, more or less. Little differences here and there, of course. But that being said, I'm going to expand this. And this is, so each of these data points is represents just that month. So like the most recent one, I'm doing this in December of 2023. So the most recent one here is November of 2023. We're doing, right now it's set to median sales price. So the median sales price for all attached single family homes in Chicago for November 2023 was 325,000, so on and so forth. You get the point. You can see that there is a pretty clear trend here that you can observe. That there's there's ups and downs. It yo-yos a little bit, of course. That's always going to be the case. No 2 years are ever going to be exactly alike. Of course, we understand that. But the winter months definitely do have lower price points. We're just talking median price point, right? So that's taking a big basket of goods. Some sell for a lot, some sell for a little. We're talking about just the median sales price, the price point that is right in the middle of all the basket of goods that were sold. So, like for example, December 2022, the median sales price was for all attached homes was $289,500 versus in June of 2023, it's way up here to 365. So on and so forth. You pretty much always see the winter months are going to be the lowest. So that's pretty straightforward. And we're going to try to answer the question of why that would be on average. I mean, you can kind of guess, the winter months are just when people, first of all, it's cold outside, which people just don't want to go, people don't want to be out doing stuff when it's cold outside, or if they are, it's only the things that they have to do. It's dark by 3:30 in the afternoon, and you're in school, you're just trying to deal with work, you're thinking about holidays, you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got Hanukkah, you got whatever it is that's going on, New Year's, January is just kind of a month where there's nothing really exciting going on. It's cold, nobody wants to do anything, they just want to get through it until the weather starts to turn. It makes sense just psychologically why people wouldn't be super excited about going out and looking for real estate, and there wouldn't be as much demand in the market, not as much demand in the market, not as many offers being made, etc. But is it potentially deeper than that? So let's look at, so the median sales price is what it is. An interesting thing I think to look at is the market time. So this is interesting, right? So the places that sold in the winter months tend to have been on the market for a much longer period of time. You can see going back, let's just go back to last year, since that's the year that we have the most data for. December hasn't happened yet as of the recording of this video in 2023. So in 2022, In the spring and summer months, you see that the market time is very low. You see April, May, June, until you start getting into July. July is when things actually start to get to slow down a little bit. July and August are usually actually very slow months, because kind of the opposite reason. People are out enjoying their summers and getting ready for school to start, vacationing, whatever, just not thinking about real estate, right? But these, the classic like March through May months, the spring market is when the market time is only a couple weeks versus when you get up to January, now it's suddenly 2+ months, and even it's been even more at different times in the past few years. So what does that mean? That means that the places that are closing have been on the market for longer. This means that this is almost like these are like the leftovers from the spring and summertime markets for the most part, not all of them. But if we're just talking median of a big bucket of goods across large numbers here, um, these are places that for whatever reason went through, maybe they were listed in the spring, maybe they're listed in the summer or early fall, and people, they came, they saw, they did not want to buy these places until maybe the seller wasn't willing to accept what it was actually worth. Maybe there's some kind of distress with these properties. Maybe they just didn't compare favorably enough to the competition that was in the market at the time prior to the winter months. There's a lot of reasons for it, which is what I think when people say, okay, I want a good deal, what do you mean by deal? That probably means you want some amount of money off of whatever the seller was originally offering. So there is a stat for that that is called percent of original list. So exactly as it sounds, if a place is listed for $1 million and they ended up selling it for $1 million, then they sold it for 100% of original list. And you see that, as maybe you would expect, maybe you wouldn't, but the data does indicate that here in the springtime, that classic spring market in Chicago, you would expect to pay on the buy side, and on the sell side you would expect to receive basically 100% of whatever you listed at. And this is again median, so 50% of places that sold are actually going for above 100%, theoretically. Versus if you come down here to the winter months, once again, now you're talking like 97%, 96.8%. Down here in 2020, well, 2020, it was, of course, an outlier of a year for infinity reasons that we don't need to get into, that you you are well aware of if you're old enough to be watching this video and understand what I'm saying. But you see, like, it's usually kind of hovering around like 96 to 97% is what you would expect. So there is some negotiability there, which, so I think this is all kind of painting like a more complete picture here, that yes, you can expect technically to get a better deal, in terms of some percent off of whatever whatever the home was originally listed for. But due to this increased market time and things like that, you might be sort of settling for a potentially lesser product in some kind of way that didn't meet the standards of the rest of the buyers in the hotter markets. So that's what it looks like on the buy side. There's going to be trade-offs no matter what time of year you're buying. I mean, if you're looking, like, if you're okay with maybe coming in and sprucing the place up, maybe it just didn't show well, maybe it has some cosmetic things. There's infinity things that it could be, right? But if you're willing to come in and do a little bit of make it your own a little bit more, or whatever the thing is that meant that it wasn't desirable to that market, if you're okay with whatever that thing is, then yes, you indeed can come in and get a little bit of a deal versus, compared to maybe that same place, if it were just listed at a different time of year, there would be more people in the marketplace, more competitors, more demand, um, more supply too, probably, but so it would just be different. The price might be a little bit higher in that situation if this for the same exact situation, this at a different time of year, like in the spring or summer. Um, but in theory, yes, deals can be found and achieved in the winter months that wouldn't be found any other time of year if you're willing to put up with those things. Now, that's on the buy side. So let's also talk about, is it necessarily true that if a time of year is better for buyers, is it also necessarily worse for sellers? So, how I'm going to get into this, like you see here, these are places like these places that sold in January of 2023 were on the market for 2 or 3 months. Again, this is median, so a lot of these were on for even longer. Anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 months. Going back October, September, maybe even August in some cases. But what about places that were actually listed in December and January? The conventional wisdom is that no, you should probably wait until February or March or April, because you see what the median sales prices are in the months that the months immediately ahead there, that you're setting yourself up potentially for more success if you wait a little while and get in on these spring market prices. But maybe that's true, maybe that's not. Let's go look at the data. Okay. What we're looking at now is every attached single family home that sold in Chicago, that was listed in December of 2022. So between December 1st and December 31st of 2022 last year. And what we are seeing here is a median sold price of $331,000, a list price of $335,000. So math on that would be, right around 99-ish% of what they were asking is what they got. Again, this is all median, and a market time of 47 days before it sold. So let's compare what these stats here say to what just all the places that sold in last December. Well, if they were listed in December, it'd probably be better. Let's look at what was sold in. This is kind of to jump around here. So like these winter months in general. So these were places that sold in last December. So this would be a different bucket of goods since these were listed prior to December, obviously. So if we're looking at like January, February, when most of those would have been, well, it's market time 47 days, right? So the places that closed in February were places that a lot of those were listed then. So 315, January 325, February 315, if that's kind of the ballpark that we're looking in. Places that were listed in December are outperforming both of those. So, and if we're looking at percent of original list, if we're kind of talking about that like 99%, that's also better than anything that was happening until we get to May. And December, in theory, for conventional wisdom's sake, should be like the worst time of year to possibly list a place like that. And like late November through early January is, you would think, would just be like the worst time, right? This is like all holidays, it's cold, it's people are thinking about anything and everything but real estate for the most part. This is not the time of year when people are really out doing stuff like that. But you see that it's as long as those places that are being listed aren't don't have some of these same issues that some of the places that were lingering on the market that were being sold in these months, then that's what matters a little bit more. Let's just do one more of those and look at January. All right, and here we're looking at the same thing that we just looked at, except for just 1 month later. So this is every single family attached home that sold that was listed in the month of January 2023, and these came in at a median sold price of $400,000, a median list price of $399,000. So this is actually over 100% of what the sellers were asking, which is interesting. So 100 point whatever that would be, 100.1%, something like that, but it's over 100%, and a median market time of 36 days. So let's go ahead and compare that to what we were seeing in the months directly ahead. And so if they were listed in January, they wouldn't be closing until February or March at least. And in either case, you see the $400,000 that the median price that those are getting is well eclipses this 315 or this 350 or this 360. I mean, honestly, even through June, like it looks like I'm not going to do this for every month of the whole year of going through, and maybe I should. Maybe that'll be another video someday of just like, hey, what month was actually the best month to have listed your property in 2023. that's a bit outside the scope of this one, but that probably would be a good video. I'll do that soon. But I guess it just kind of, in a way, it flies in the face of some of the conventional wisdom, right? You would just, again, you would think, don't list in the winter when people aren't out there looking for things, but you see that that's not necessarily true. So these places like the median on that were the places that were closing here in February and March, again, these had massive market times that were a lot more than the 36 days of places that were only listed in the month of January, until you get down to, but pretty much once you get down to like places that close in March is the only time that you start getting back to that territory. So I don't know. I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you guys. I hope this was helpful. The bottom line here is that yes, it is true that you can get some good deals during the winter if you're willing to give some of these properties, a second, third, fourth, fifth look that a lot of other people decided not to make moves on. It's also true that listing your property during these winter months is not necessarily the nail in the coffin to any chance that you might have of getting a good deal for your property that a lot of people might indicate that is the case. Especially the early months, like the January, February. That's like the Super Bowl weekend for whatever reason is kind of like colloquially, how do you say that word? The time that a lot of people say that the spring market in Chicago officially starts. I think it's actually earlier. I think it's really starting to become like within mid-January. That's when people are like, okay, the holidays are over. If you're a serious buyer, now's the time to really get into it. And that market is a lot hotter than the temperature outside would indicate. So anyway, my name is Jake Lyons. I'm a realtor here in Chicago with At Properties. And if you like this, please give it a follow. Give me a subscribe to my channel. Follow me on YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. And hit me up if you have any questions or want to buy or sell any property in Chicago. All right. Thanks, guys.